Hugh, Andree, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mike.
You've been calling for help for the homeless veterans for a long time. You've been involved in projects to try and house them. What do you make of this announcement today?
Look, it's really positive news. We know that. Unfortunately, I'm normally a sort of half full type of person until it comes to government announcements, and suddenly my cup becomes half empty.
Yeah.
And I think, as we discussed before, 8.5 million, I just don't see how that works. I mean, Ukrainians get 150 million to buy houses. I mean, I ran the numbers. You know, the only figures I can find, the accurate figures for veterans sleeping homeless, and no one's actually really drilled down into the statement. What are 910 housing placements? What does that actually mean? 8.5 million works out, by my reckoning, at £1.94 per day per veteran, because there are allegedly 6,000 homeless veterans in the UK, according to the British Legion.
Yeah.
But that number's 3 years old. So that's pre-COVID and pre the cost of living crisis. But you know, it comes back to big thumbs up. Absolutely, and Johnny Mercer is 100% cutting down the middle, and he's got veterans stamped through his innards.
Yeah.
But that sort of money, I just don't think is it's not going to touch the sides. And also, it hasn't been mentioned that Operation Fortitude actually only lasts for 2 years.
Yeah.
What's happening? What happens then? We're going to be asked to clear off.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's previously sort of said that he's been frustrated at times by the unwillingness of either the Treasury or the Cabinet to kind of go along with what he wants. And he didn't look, I must say, like a person who was particularly happy this morning. I know he can be a bit sort of laconic anyway, but he didn't look like he was pleased even himself with making this announcement.
No, that doesn't totally surprise me. I mean, everyone else has got a department in Whitehall and he's got an office.
Yeah.
Which to me is sort of a bit of a statement. And, you know, he's always having these fights and fights and fights for the rights of veterans. But ultimately, like most things in life, it boils down to money.
Yeah.
And as a government in the country, we just haven't got any money from what I can see until we want to find some.
Well, we can always find some. I mean, I've got a story here in front of me, which is a small number, I suppose, in terms of all of this, but Peterborough City Council apparently set to acquire up to 25 new houses to support the city's refugee resettlement programme, and the plan is to secure for purchase from the local authority housing fund houses that will support arrivals from both Afghanistan and Ukraine. You know, everybody wants to help them as well. That's fine. However, the veterans should really have priority, shouldn't they?
Well, and yeah, you know, I hold my hands up. I work in the private sector, as you know, and I've done plenty of charitable work, etc. But yet again, it always comes down to private sector and the charitable sector, the third sector, frankly, cleaning up the government's mess, and not just his government, governments before. You know, I'm ultimately, as I said to you, Mike, I work for the Sovereign, and if they appoint a government, that's who I answer to.
Yes.
But, you know, £8.5 million, £1.94 per day for a veteran. When I looked on Google last night, the cheapest Premier Inn in Birmingham was £100 a night.
Yeah.
How actually is it going to work? And ultimately, Johnny needs something like 180 million.
Yeah.
Not 8.5.
And he's not going to get that, is he?
He's not going to get it, no. And that's why we do what we do. We provide a platform, we provide a voice, and, you know, not just myself, but hundreds and hundreds of other good people out there in this country who believe and support our armed forces and veterans, you know, really step up to the mark when the government lets them down.
Yes. Well, we spoke just last Friday, didn't we, to a guy up in Yorkshire who does something similar to you, but a sort of smaller scale version of making sure that people coming out of the armed services have somewhere they can go to be possibly retrained or possibly introduced to job opportunities. And it seems to me that it's all about the charity groups rather than being about what the government does for them.
Yeah, well, do you know what the government, I think, just fails to miss is that if we look after our veterans, when they come out, then the military as a whole will see their recruitment numbers going in increase. There's a reason why a large majority of Americans join the armed forces. One, they get an education, and many have either dropped out, didn't get one, etc. And secondly, they get health insurance for the rest of their lives. So, and again, as we've spoken, why do any of our veterans have to pay for a rail card? Why haven't they got a fixed healthcare offering? And why aren't they top priority on every borough and every council's housing department's list to get accommodations first? And if I want to bang on one more thing, why isn't the MOD using all their empty housing?
Because there's quite a lot of that, isn't there?
By my reckoning, there's about 10,000 empty military quarters. There's 200 in Greenwich alone.
That's a staggering number. So they could actually solve this at a stroke, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard Ken Hames talk about it. We heard Alistair Goulden on Friday, who built that setup down in Kent, which we're going to look at again on Friday. There was one part where he said, we wrote to the MOD to ask them about using some land which isn't being used. We didn't even get a reply.
Unbelievable.
Well, believable now, but there we go. Let's look. Good luck to Johnny. I hope very much that the program works. Of course, we all do. Let's see where we are at Christmas.
Yes. Well, we'll see you sooner than that, because we're going to see you on Friday, and we'll bring people up to date with how we're doing with the Veterans Voice. And thank you again, Hugh, for talking to us. Hugh Andree from Forceselect there, doing some great work. We're helping him as best we can to augment what he's doing by publicising it here on TV, on talkTV, every single Friday, the Veterans Voice. If you have any thing you want to share with us, or if you have any questions that you'd like to send us, please do send them to us. You can tweet them at talkTV, at IROMG is my Twitter, of course, as well. And you can also send them in to our text number, and you can even email them to feedback at talkTV, and that way you'll get it to us.